Everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, a new assignment today. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the new moon in Virgo. And this is for the 30th of August 2019. So, a lot's taking place at the moment for us, as always, to be honest. And, well, what's a new moon in Virgo without some crisis or chaos, right? All of the events that are taking place in the world at the moment, and right now the focus has been shifted to Brazil and the Amazon and all of the information that's circulating around on the internet at the moment around what is occurring there. So hopefully today I can offer some of my personal perspective on not the subject itself, but the nature of how you could navigate your way through discerning what is real and what is not, considering that we've got a very strong connection with Jupiter and Neptune in the chart at the moment. So before I jump into anything, I just want to let everybody know that Jen is hosting another round of human design teachings. This is an immersion program. The difference here is that you're not just learning a bunch of random information related to human design. You're actually experiencing not only the nature of guidance, but also the ability to understand how your human design chart works through direct experience, through the actual integration and embodiment of the awareness, so that you can, be able to understand what it means to be your own authority. So all of that information is actually in the description below. There is a link that you can click on, and that will take you to the page that will show you everything that she teaches in the 10-week class. So I encourage you definitely to go check that out if you are curious about human design, if you're willing to learn about it in a way that's not just a mental process, but an actual bodily integration of the awareness. That's a really, really good place to start. For all of the new people that have joined Raising Vibrations YouTube channel, and anybody that's, like I said, just recently come onto the page, and new subscribers, and for those of you that are new to what full moons and new moons mean, I just wanted to quickly give you a rundown. We're talking about a new moon today, and what it basically represents is a beginning of a new cycle. So new moons reflect the nature of something that is emerging, something that is about to begin seeding into our awareness. So the energy that is held within a new moon holds the potential to grow over a 28-day cycle. And of course, the nature of the new and full moons is a sort of moment-to-moment reflection of deeper ongoing evolutionary cycles. So for instance, personal planets like Mars and Venus, for instance, that move around the chart, making aspects to outer planets like Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. And all of these symbols and all of these planetary energies form alignments with each other, and they write us a story. They write us a story of the nature of what is occurring for us, and how evolution is moving through our awareness, and how our awareness is being developed and cultivated relative to these experiences. So these new and full moon reports we do every time that there is one, of course, which is twice a month or 3, depending on the day or the month. And we help to kind of integrate the energy that is taking place. And we also write articles as well on this. It always accompanies these new moons, and to know more about that, I encourage you to go check out our website as well. And in the description, we'll have a link to our website to go and read articles if you prefer to read instead of hearing me speak. Okay, so let's get on to the energy at the moment. And my attention, I feel, gets pulled to 3 major areas. And so I'm going to speak first to the Earth trine that is taking place between Saturn and Uranus, and of course, here we have over here, I've got my little cursor. They've got Saturn at 14 degrees. It's not actually on the chart showing a trine, but it is in a trine with Uranus there in Taurus. And there you can see Uranus also making a trine to the moon, to the sun, to Mars, to Venus. So there is a huge, there is a huge Earth trine that is taking place at the moment. Now, Earth energy, and this is the nature of how I share this information, the Earth energy is a sustaining energy, okay? It's an energy that allows us as human beings to um, establish pathways within our experience of life that holds us in safety, holds us in a grounded way, right? So the Taurus element, or the Taurus part of the Earth trine, speaks to firstly our need for survival. Okay, so each living organism on this plane has a built-in survival mechanism, and whatever that survival mechanism is speaking to will help us or help the organism establish a sense of needs, okay, very basic primal needs. And so for most organisms on the planet, the need to digest material or food in that sense, and to convert that sort of material into sustenance so that we can be sustained is the Taurus function. So each organism has its own set of needs that it needs to meet in order to survive. And then as we kind of get more into the human experience, as we separate ourselves from nature, there's kind of values that we as human beings establish and form. So some people might value silence when learning, other people might value communication. You know, we all have different needs and different ways in which we form our sense of inner sense of self, all right? The Virgo part of it, or aspect of the Earth trine, speaks to a process of clearing out and discerning, you know, what information, what values are essential and what is not. And through that discerning and clearing out process, it leaves us with a specific set series of instructions that when we action daily, right, or we come into contact with and we give energy to, it provides us with a very clear path. So Virgo's function within the context of the Earth trine is the ability to clear away what is not necessary, what is excess, and so that we can become very specific on something. And it's then when we have that specificness, when we have that clarity and that focus, we are able to actually develop a sense of direction or formation. All right, so the Capricorn part of the Earth trine itself speaks to our ability to establish a direction based on the values that we have, Taurus, and then the actioning of that values through day-to-day rhythmic patterns. So rhythmic patterns in the moment, right? This is the kind of nature of progression. And the Virgo allows us to align with a structure that is valuable to us that over time becomes our direction, Capricorn, right? Now, you can see here within this Earth trine at the moment, the energy is speaking to a kind of culling away of pre-existing structures or pre-existing philosophies or truths that we hold about ourselves that were once rooted in a previously established structure of values, okay? So the Jupiter part over here is the philosophies or visions or truths, a truth that you would accept, you know, about the nature of life, and that truth would be materialized based on a structure of values. Now, each society that exists, each structural form that exists within our life, the way that we govern our lives, we put into that a definition. We put into that a definition based on what we believe to be true. Okay, so for some of us, for most of us, we believe in astrology, right? And we believe in astrology because there's an inherent value that we perceive in it. And so we keep learning the Virgo process. We keep coming back to this sequence of new and full moons every single month to give us a sense of what could potentially be occurring for us, as an example, okay? So those values, those needs will shift. This is what Uranus and Taurus is talking about. It's an ongoing shift in those patterns. And we know that, say, 50 years ago, what was seemingly valuable may not actually be valuable at all today. But yet within our culture, within our structure of our minds, within the structure of our emotional reality, which is the way that we interact with life, if those values are not meaningful anymore, then they begin to fade away. And the fading away process needs a kind of Virgo element of clearing out what is not necessary, clearing out the excess, discerning what is real and what's not real, what is valuable and not. So we're going through a process at the moment of clearing out the excess, okay, that no longer serves us anymore, no longer provides us with the nourishment to feel as if we're in flow. And through this process of clearing out and getting rid of excess, we're becoming into a deeper focus, a deeper sense of alignment that is present with us right now. And this Earth trine is also supporting the new phase energy between Mars and Venus at the moment. Okay, so here you can see Mars and Venus. Venus is at 11 degrees Virgo. Mars is at 7 degrees Virgo. So these two planets, if you follow astrology or follow different forms of different astrologers, would have spoken about this new phase conjunction. And what it really means is that between Mars and Venus, as they cycle around each other in a 2-year cycle, they present themselves, we, in essence, action needs based on what we feel is essential in our lives at the moment. So 2 years ago, what was essential to you may no longer be essential to you now. And so that will fade away and you'll initiate a new cycle of energy. And that cycle of energy will take 2 years to manifest within your life, like fully, right? And that's the cycle of growth. So right now, while we're going through a transition of reshaping our truth and culling out and moving away and getting rid of the excess that we no longer need with us, the baggage, the new phase Mars-Venus energy is presenting us with this fresh sense of new discovery, this fresh sense of let's integrate into ourselves the values that resonate with us. So that would be a question that I would, or something I would suggest to you in this new moon video. New structures or new values that you have in your life about where you are and what's real and authentic to you. And how do you begin now integrating those experiences into your life? How do you take new insights that have recently occurred with the eclipses that just changed during July, right? So we all know that we had a solar eclipse in Cancer, and then we had a lunar eclipse in Capricorn, right? And those energy patterns for the month of July brought us into some really intense experiences, a lot of flux, a lot of changing of patterns, and it was very up and down and stuff. And the energy felt as if we were really moving through some intense mutation. And now, in my experience at least, and I don't know if this is necessary for yourself, it's not that there's a sense of calmness, but there's a sense of maybe not even clarity, I would say. Maybe there is. I certainly feel that way. I feel that there is an energy at the moment where we can breathe a bit to, ironically, breathe a bit to begin integrating the messages and insights that occurred during the solar and lunar eclipses that took place. So for me, as an example, I had a couple of experiences during July and the beginning of August that were deeply nourishing to my soul's sort of movement forward. And now, as Mars-Venus is in their new phase energy, like the discovery and reintegration of these new dynamics within inside of yourself, I'm beginning to sow the seeds and plant into my reality the insights that came through. And I would say probably around 3 months from now, I'd start to see the benefits of these actions and choices. And of course, they're naturally aligned with my values, right? And that will bring me into deeper layers of authenticity. This is the Jupiter and Sagittarius energy. So I would say that at the moment, the energy to me, and I haven't even spoken about the inconjunct that Chiron, that's the inconjunct over here, Chiron is making to this energy here. I'll speak to that soon. I would say that the energy at the moment is one where there's a tremendous amount of potential to refocus, and that's the reason why I chose this picture over here. And I'll just move my camera away and I'll flick to the new moon. So this is why I chose this picture, because, and I'm going to go a little bit off to the side over here in terms of explaining Neptune's relationship to all of this, because of course Virgo in its polarity is Pisces, and we have Neptune in opposition to these new and full moon, or the new moon at the moment, and Mars and Venus. And that's primarily why a lot of us are experiencing the uncertainty and chaos and fear and the deep feelings that we're feeling about, what's occurring in Brazil and the Amazon at the moment, and a lot of information that's filtering around that says it's this and it's that, and people's opinions are being sort of thrown out there, and there's a lot of fear. And I encourage you during this period of time to really honor this picture and put things into perspective. Because around the picture over here, that's the Pisces part. That's like the totality. There's like everything is existing all at once. So how do you take something that's so vast, so complex, like the nature of the universe, or any of you sitting watching this video right now, conceptualize 352 trillion. Like, what does that mean even? It's too large for the mind to begin digesting the nature of what is 352 trillion, right? Dollars, or insects, or specks of dust. Like, it's too much. So that's the kind of Pisces version over here. And that's all of this here. It's too complex for us to begin processing. Our minds can't do that. So we need to have something that kind of like puts things into focus in order for us to have clarity over the enormous, overwhelming context of energy or material that exists in and around us. So again, the new moon in Virgo speaks to this image where the road that we seek to walk, the road that we seek to experience and observe within ourselves, comes into focus when we are in alignment with what is true for us. When we're coming into alignment with what resonates with us. And those resonating patterns are deeply supported by, let's see if I can get the new moon there, the chart back there. The energy is deeply supported by Uranus and Taurus, because it's the sort of like value, the essential need right now in your life. So you'd need to get in contact. You'd need to feel into your body and ask yourself, what is essential for me right now? And begin using this Virgo energy to subtly sense around you what is essential for yourself right now, and what is the right thing to begin processing and assimilating into your body and into your reality. A lot of the time, this way that the inconjunct works between Aries, which is sitting here, and the sign of Virgo, and the reason why I'm bringing this in is because of Chiron's placement in Aries, and it's retrograde as well, so it's inconjuncting the moon, sun. The way that this energy plays out is how, when something new begins, right? When we explore, when something new establishes itself, Mars, like the Aries archetype, and we discover something, when we're discovering and exploring things, we might not necessarily know what the path is about or the road or where it's taking us. And it's a very instinctual process. And the Virgo in the inconjunct suggests to Aries that too many impulsive decisions or processes in multiple ways can lead to nothing of sustainability. So how do you materialize sustainability in your choices? And Virgo supports that process by helping us see in the picture what to focus on, what is necessary to focus on, what is not. It helps us get in contact with natural flow of life versus trying to move in alignment with flow, or move in alignment with life where it's more of a mercurial mental structure of like strategic plans that you want to put in process and kind of meet those things. So a lot of the time, like we make plans and then God laughs, as an example, right? It's this idea of, well, I want my wedding to be on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and then sort of like terrible weather arrives and it's out of your control, and you feel like deeply affected and offended and upset at the fact that it was ruined, and part of that Virgo process is like, yes, that's true. I mean, it does suck that this has happened to you, but you've also got to realize that your desire for it to occur in your perfect orientated way and what nature is really representing is two different things. And nature hasn't got any attachment to what you personally want. And so Virgo brings us into alignment through a process of purification and reminding us that life in itself can be very fluid and very very impactful when we are aware of the sense of flow that is available in our lives. And when we're in that state, we're actually operating more from a sensory perception place, which is our body, right? Our bodies have five senses, and we can use these five senses to, as well as our awareness, to feel into the nature of the physical world in which we're living in. And that physical world that we're living in is always in constant communication with us, and we're constantly interacting with what is, you know, present with us in the moment. And so stillness is a very big part of this new moon as well. It's like it's speaking to the capacity to, as much as we would love to bounce out into new directions and, you know, explore the next thing, Aries, with this new phase energy of Mars and Venus, there is also a blind spot of realizing that there's a deeper truth here. There's a deeper potential for mutation and transformation within your own life. And that is that while we all have these new insights and in sort of awarenesses that occurred for us during the end of July, as the solar and lunar eclipses finished their cycles and initiated us into this pattern, and we want to integrate this into our lives, it's not going to be straight away. We have to be sensitive to when the right moments are when we apply these new insights, because then when we're applying them in that way and we're aware of when the right moment is, what we're doing is we're actually not only viscerally entering our physical body and the physical world and allowing those insights to expand across like that, it's also actually awakening ourselves to what is occurring on around us. And that's deeply supportive. And Virgo allows us to become sensitive to the stillness of what it is that wants to awaken within us. And the inconjunct reminds us of the process, that not all actions will lead to something sustainable, and we've got to be aware of that. So, and you know, again, whenever you're trying to synthesize Chiron into the chart, your birth chart or anything, you've always got to take into consideration what Uranus and Saturn are doing. Because Chiron is a sensitive point within a contact of what is consistently wanting to be individuated or liberated from Uranus, which is our pre-existing values and our needs, and Saturn, which is that has established itself before and that keeps us in a state of identity. So again, here you see that Chiron's in conjunct with Virgo speaks to where we have internalized beliefs and ideologies about our world and about ourselves that may not actually be the complete truth. So this natural square between, you know, Sagittarius or Jupiter and Pisces is coming into play, where as we navigate through this field right now, we need to be able to get in contact with our intuitive senses. We need to be in contact with what is really truthful for us and what is not, and how are we sensitive to those truths being impactful and influential in how we perceive reality as well. I mean, these are really, really deep, confronting thought processes. And, you know, it's so easy to deceive ourselves based on an idea of what we want in a utopian way versus what's actually occurring for us in the moment. Because when we can be in contact with what is occurring for us in the moment and what we're feeling in the moment and sensing in the moment, the probability of being able to separate yourself into an idealism of what you want versus what is present for you right now is very easy, or should I say it's not. But it also lends us to seeing that everything is in a constant process of becoming, which again is the Virgo process. Like when we look at the baby, for instance, in the womb, life in and of itself is naturally knowing which function to materialize next over the period of 9 months. And we don't really have a lot of intervention in that. And it's a really interesting thing to contemplate, the nature of how much we intervene with our sense of authority, versus what nature does naturally. And it's a really profound thing, because we want to get connected more with the context of how nature organically organizes things and materializes things, and the truths that are held in those perspectives. And so Virgo will, bring us into a process of what is the correct steps of assimilation, assimilating something into our reality, bringing experiences into our life that has meaning for us, versus trying to meet ideologies and truths, and trying to connect with certain internalized perceptions of truth that have nothing to do with you or your body or your sensations, but because of them being a kind of collective agreed truth, it becomes something that separates you from what's actually visceral and feeling for you. And this is how we get connected to our truth and connected to our values and what is sensory there. And I also think that that's what the Earth Trine is supporting us during this period of time, is the ability to really get into your own vehicle, get into your own physical sense of self, and orientate yourself around and say, wow, okay, it's like grounding, very, very grounding into something. So you can begin from that point assessing your environment and yourself, and allowing yourself to see more of what is needed in the process of becoming, right? What it is. So you're focusing in, you're zeroing in, and you're becoming a force with nature, because you're jumping into the right streams that are taking you in the right places, versus jumping into the wrong stream and then fighting your way against a current that is not actually for you to experience, And that's why, to me, human design is such a profound tool, because it can really support you in some way in understanding the difference between what streams are supportive for you and what are not, and how you can actually become sensitive to those different streams. And that's what I mean when I talk about the immersion course with Jen, when she's talking, when she's teaching human design, she's bringing you into the form of your own self, so that you can be able to be aware of what it is, what stream is, oh, that's a good stream, or no, that's not a good stream. Because right now in our lives, and I'll end off with this in terms of summarizing this new moon for us, I'm sure most of you by now have become aware of the intensity of information that exists in the world, and the nature of polarity. Well, like, you have 5 different systems that tell you 5 different things, and the ability to be confused about what is real and what is not is so easy at the moment, because there's just so many things that can easily overwhelm you. This is another Virgo process, the crisis in feeling overwhelmed, in terms of what is actually present in your field. And we have the access to the internet, so there's just an abundance of it, So being able to connect with your own sense of authority and your inner alignments, your inner core, is a big part of this process. And of course, the core of yourself always has a natural navigation, because it's connected to something bigger than your sense of self, your ego, but more along the lines of like a deeper self, and what its trajectory is and what it wants to reveal to you. And Virgo gives you the ability to experience that moment that is packed full of information that can, when integrated into yourself, or the awarenesses arrive in yourself and you integrate them into your vehicle, into your life, become deeply empowering, So when we're looking out in the world and we're seeing the multiple perspectives and truths that are out there, it's so easy to get sucked into something that may not be real for you. And the way that you combat that is by asking yourself the question, well, firstly, are these values am I aligned with these values? Does my sense of security or survival, is it attached to me holding on to this truth? Because if I had to confront this truth, and it would say to me that I'm only holding on to it because it gives me a sense of security, then, and Virgo wants to kind of poke a hole at that and say, is this really real? Is this really the truth here for yourself, or are you just holding on to something because of other reasons? It wants to weed out, it wants to clear out, it wants to purge. So I'm sure you'll hear a lot of astrologers at the moment on the internet talk about purification and cleansing and clearing and healing and service and all those things. And those are all sort of nice ways to describe Virgo. And, for the vast majority of it, it's true. But I encourage you during this period of time, as I summarize this chart, to focus on the idea of focus, the idea of clarity, and what is your values, and how are they aligning you with the truth that is authentic and real for you. And the question that you want to ask yourself consistently is, like I said, refocusing, applying your attention to the things that are concentrated, applying your attention to the things that bring you success and progress over time, versus constantly hitting the same thing over and over and over and getting completely exhausted and then burning out. So fatigue being a byproduct of this Virgo complex, because it's like too many things going on at once, versus really gelling things and focusing on and getting into the detail, asking yourself the specific question, what do you want to focus on right now? Okay, and getting clear on that. All right. Okay, everybody, thanks very much for listening to me talk to you today about this new moon in Virgo. I really hope that it brought you some value to your life, of course, and something to process. And, as always, if you enjoyed the content and you share it with other people, let YouTube know that this is a video that's worth digesting. That's always appreciated. And not to forget that human design courses are now available, immersion process. The links are in the description below and in the comments. I highly encourage you to go check them out. All the information is on the website. And take care, everybody. Bye-bye.